没有走完的路不会是终点，故事的走向是自己选择的坚持。
这个故事的开头还算不错，相信过程，相信自己走过的路。
那些最激动人心的冒险，从来不是单枪匹马的挑战。
과거는 잊으세요. 내일이 새로운 시작입니다. 내일 경기가 새로운 도전입니다.
我们愿意为胜利付出许多代价，改变只是其中之一。
어떤 사람이든 현재에 만족하지 않고 어떠한 사람이든 제자리 걸음을 하지 않는다.
过去的荣耀就存留在记忆中，这一抹红色要照亮未来。
为之付出的心血越多，收获的果实才越甘甜。
赛场上的事怎能尽如人意？我只想追求无愧于心。
保持微笑，胜利总会专顾你。
在尝过赢得一切的滋味之后，你绝对不会甘心做第二名。
尖矛和利刃是勇者的武器，也有最坚硬的盾和扬起风帆的大旗。
如果翻不过这座山， 他们就听不到你的故事。
这个故事的结局将由我们来谱写。为了无悔，为了胜利，为了站在世界这边。
Good evening and welcome to tonight's broadcast of the LPL, where the crowd is baying, adrenaline is pumping, stopwatches are popping, and no one can really determine who is in the red or blue corner because everyone, everything, and the kitchen sink gets thrown into the ring week after week after week. I'm Fish for tonight's broadcast. I'll be hosting the analysis, and I'm joined by the man who not only floats like a bee, but also from time to time stings like a butterfly. It's Brento Raz Muhammad. But before we jump in ringside and take part with all the action, we're going to recap the bloodshed that took place earlier in this week, because we had 2 games and 2 days that we did not cover on the English broadcast. So let's take a look at what they were. First up, it was TOP taking on FPX with a 2-1 victory, as well as the upset of Snake picking up 2-0 against EDG in Tuesday's matches.
Yeah, and you know what? My predictions are going down the drain based off both of these alone, because TOP are looking so damn sick going into this one. XX is starting so often, and he's been the most improved jungler coming into this split. And just based off of it, Marin had an excellent game 1, then you go into game 2, and then suddenly we just see live.
I mean, FPX has looked decent to start the split, but TOP kicked off this split with a bang. Raz, most improved team so far, what do you think?
So far, I'm down that trail. I agree with you. We just have to see what they end up doing today. But in this day, when they went up against FPX, they were rowdy, they were scrappy, and they came out ahead.
And that's everything we like to see from TOP, playing to their playstyle, being the brawl-heavy, what used to be bottom of the table team, now actually picking up a decent amount of victories and looking to try and make a playoff run themselves. Still very early into the LPL, however, as this is still week number 3. But earlier in the week, we saw a major upset. EDG, who looked like one of the top dogs of their conference, Raz, they dropped 2-0 to Snake, who are still running double supports in the bottom lane.
Just feels like Snake going into game after game with the strategy they've been utilizing. This time around, it was SOFM on Aurelia getting gold funneled with a Nautilus. It's just so fun to watch this team play, and EDG were definitely not prepared for the early game scrapping. 9 minutes in, and this was a constant.
They tried to use the gold funnel with Clear Love as well. He was gold funneling for their mid laner, playing Kai'Sa in the jungle. Didn't work out too well for EDG. SOFM with Irelia in the jungle, as you mentioned, something completely unorthodox. We know that they run very unorthodox strategies, but that was something completely out of left field. And we're about to watch the highlights of highlight plays. Raz, please take me through what's about to happen here, because it's absolutely beautiful.
Boom! First of all, it's essentially a carpet being laid out. I mean, you're going to see it. It's beautiful to watch. But then guess what ends up happening? We're not going to see it, but
we don't even get to see it.
Just imagine it getting pulled out. Because ultimately, that was just an amazing set coming in from Snake, going up against EDG in that one.
It was actually quite beautiful to watch coming out from Snake. They've been working on their strategy. It's been beautiful to watch. We hope to see more from them, especially with Babushkat being thrown into the LPL from Snake Esports. But we also had matches on Wednesday, which we were unfortunately not able to cover. And in those 2 matches, it went exactly how we expected, Raz. We've got 2-0 clinical victory from RNG and a 2-0 from IG against PLG.
And remember, these were our LPL Spring semi-finalists. This was the hypest matchup, RNG versus Invictus Gaming, and we expect these two to be the best teams coming into the split, let alone the Eastern Conference. So it wasn't really a surprise seeing how Vici fell to RNG, but in the following set, Invictus Gaming going up against BLG, I was a bit surprised by BLG. I expected this to be a little bit more of a scrappy because BLG last split were doing quite well in the Western Conference, but their Eastern Conference visit has been very poor.
They started the split quite strong, showing signs of promise even in the games that they lost, but recently not looking too good, and the Miracle team needs to make a miracle run. But this was that play, Raz. They got it wrong the first time, but look at Duke go!
That
look
was
at
the carpet, and guess what? There's no way you can run or hide because Jackie Love has got you locked down.
Not even Jackie Love as well. Everyone piling into that Baron pit, stealing Baron, knocking Talia off the wall. Jackie Love with the snipe. IG look damn good at the moment.
Yeah, it's so fun to watch because they're still utilizing Duke. I know there's the whole discussion between Duke and the Shy, but we finally have Duke being played with ultimate synergy underneath him. He's had real time to practice. That was my major point of concern when he played in the playoffs, but now he's had real time over the off season, coming at the beginning of the split. So sure, we would all love to see the Shy play, but this is now Invictus Gaming both practice with both players.
Even moving towards carry like champions like Darius that we saw from that highlight.
Yes.
After that victory, Invictus Gaming have been able to remain undefeated, with Rogue Warriors still being undefeated in their own conference. This is the standings of the LPL at the moment.
So Rogue Warriors and Invictus Gaming, surprise, surprise, the top of their respective conferences. For me, what is really surprising, unsarcastically, is WE and BLG. Both of these teams in the Western Conference last split doing quite well, getting into the playoff and having their run. WE 1-4, BLG 1-4.
WE playing the second game of today. They're going to be going up against Rogue Warriors in Xi'an, their new home arena. We'll have to check in and see how they do later on and talk a bit more about that team. But the rest of the LPL standings, it's nicely spread out, Raz. Not too many people fighting for the top, not too many people at the bottom, very similar to what we saw during Spring Split. Today's matches, as we said earlier, Rogue Warriors against WE, that will start at 7 o'clock no matter what. We'll be able to bring you all the action and keep you updated if anything changes. But first up, 5 o'clock today, which is right now, EDG taking on TOP.
Now this one is super fun. You already talked about TOP just a little bit in the last game they played on Tuesday. Real fun to see them go up against FPX and have a dominant performance. They don't even need to utilize Marin, and that was the big button purchase that they had going into the Spring Split, and they can utilize Lies, and this is what's real fun to me, and see if they can go up against the machine of EDG.
Difficult for them. Hopefully we can see the exact same scrappy playstyle that we saw for them going up against FPX. Potentially could throw a spanner in the works against EDG, because we know them to be that team, Raz, that likes to set up. They like to dictate when and where they're going to make their plays and look for the fights that favor them. If TOP can throw a spanner in the works and stop that from happening, there's a potential for an upset here against EDG. They already lost the Snake earlier in the week in the Snake pit. Let's see if another upset can be formed here today for TOP's lineup. No Marin in the top lane because it's going to be Lies, XX, Gung, Chol, as well as Cat.
There we go. The team that's the machine themselves. EDG, Ray in the top lane, Clear Love, Scout, and in their bottom lane, their hot button purchases, iBoy and Mako. These are the two players.
Make no mistake, that may be iBoy there, but he's I-Man at the moment, Raz. Woo! iBoy is looking on fire right now.
Yeah, his team fighting has been exceptional, and I love the fact that they've still ironed out that EDG is a bottom lane team, because last Spring Split, this is a story time with Raz now, because Spring Split for this team was still play towards the bottom lane. The stats were super strong for EDG, but they were known as an early game team. They were known as, right off the gate, put iBoy on Caitlyn, Varus, and win through the tower difference alone, but it hasn't been the case thus far.
And you get to look at iBoy's statistics here. His CSD from 10 to 15 to 20 gets worse and worse. 4th place to 6th place to 8th. Now remember, there's an abundance of AD carry talent in the LPL, so being 4th at 10 minutes in CSD is actually really good for this squad, and it kind of shows that they are moving away from that early game strategy, starting to group more during the mid game and actually look for those fights.
Yeah, and the reason for it, remember, Lane Kingdom is not so much a thing now on the bottom side of the map, because that's what EDG would pride themselves on off the Caitlyn and the Varus picks. But issue is, since MSI came around, you see teleports now being put in the bottom lane, means that if you lose the bottom lane, you can just easily have a get out of jail free card. Sustain's been nerfed out, base stats been nerfed out, we see bruises in the bottom lane. So for EDG to come into this meta, see that we're still going towards the Ashe picks, the Kalista, or at least the AD carries in general.
Kai'Sa,
there we go. There's a lot of K's going in there. But ultimately, still ironed out with these bottom lane AD carries, but shifting their priority now of getting iBoy out of the laning phase so he can be that team fighting demon.
Yeah, and you talked about TPs being thrown into the bottom lane. We saw the meta of Mahjong and Spring Split where 4 people would make their way into the bottom lane. Now AD carries himself. It's been a double-edged sword though. Some AD carries can't decide when they're meant to TP into team fights and TP into certain death. But also teams have been trying to decide whether they're playing around AD carries, playing around bruisers or mages in the bottom lane, or doing a hybrid of both. For EDG, you said it best. They're still sticking to their AD carry playstyle, not trying to shake things up with the meta. Is that going to affect them today against TOP?
Yes, because we saw what happened with Snake. It was a bit of a sneak peek. It was Snake playing their bruisers, Snake trying to skirmish really early on. That's how TOP ended up getting their victory versus FPX. So EDG have to be well prepared tonight.
And that's what we're going to be watching out for from TOP. Can they disrupt EDG very early into the match? For now, though, let's send it ringside with Valcasas. It's going to be Rusty as well as Pulse.
Ding ding.
想要征服他人，必先战胜自己。EDG 的队名就是鞭策我们的动力。
Thank you, Mr. Fish. We are about to get into this one very shortly with EDG and TOP. Now, this is a series, Rusty, where you would come into it and you would expect a 2-0 going over to EDG, but right now with TOP, they could definitely be either an upset or at the very least a 2-1.
Yeah, EDG currently 3-1 in best of 3 series so far in the LPL, TOP 2-2. So there's not a lot that actually separates these guys, and ultimately, you're right, you would expect that EDG 2-0 from this set, but you never know with TOP in their current form. They have got a lot of cool strategies up their sleeves.
Absolutely do, but it does start with Champion Select, of course, so TOP will take away the Irelia, Yasuo, and Lucian from EDG, the Machine, and they themselves will remove the Vladimir, the Nocturne, and we are just waiting on their final ban in first phase.
Yeah, Lucian and Irelia, definitely still good bans here from iBoy, specifically the Lucian. It's his most played champion, but weirdly enough, that's a shared AD carry with Chocho, so I'm surprised to see it gone in that regard. However, it does mean that, of course, being on the blue side for TOP, they have a priority towards something else.
Now, Zoe will be that final ban from EDG right here, just going to hit Goong in the mid lane. Now, TOP looking back over to them, there are multiple power picks still available, and one of them are indeed the Talia, or is indeed the Talia, into either the jungle or the AD carry position. So TOP start off strong.
And again, for EDG, they ban away the Nocturne. They don't pick it for themselves, and maybe they're more afraid of Nocturne on XX than they are the Talia. He's been able to play both rather successfully. The Nocturne in particular, he looks super clean. So now EDG on the opposite side, they ban the Nocturne, they don't give that to their opponents. You assume that it's going to be the Talia to be seen in that role, and now they pick up their options against it.
And Talia are actually below 50% win rate right now. However, Olaf the Berserker sitting pretty at 66% on that win rate and has been picked up a bunch of times so far in the LPL. And that's what Clearlove will be locking in for himself. Now that is interesting indeed, Rusty. Actually going to have this Ashe locked in here for iBoy.
No one really does this but EDG. So when you pick Ashe in the LPL, you pick Tahm Kench with it. That's what I'm getting at here. EDG is the only team that goes for just Ashe without the Tahm Kench in the same rotation. Ultimately, you don't know what their opponents will pick, but you give them an opportunity to counterpick if you would like. But EDG's response has often actually just been a Fiddlesticks, opposed to something like that Tahm Kench to partner with iBoy.
And it is an early pick as well. But back over to TOP, Morgana will be locked in here as long with the Darius. Now that makes me very happy, man. We just saw that highlight clip coming out from Duke.
Sure did.
With the old get over here, get off that wall, come down, sit down, be humble. And we'll see if Elias can do something similar this game, or even if it goes over to Goong to try and dissuade something in the mid lane right here. There is no Aurelia, of course, that's what I was actually looking towards, so still, definitely a dissuader. EDG will pick up the Lulu for themselves, though. Again, another flex pick for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. So Scout will be presumably on that Lulu, however, regardless of what his matchup will be. And you can start to see an extra couple of mid bans going the way of Goong here. Now, he is an ASOL player, and that's one of the few strategies that I will speak towards that does very well against funnel-style strats. Now, I don't think that we'll see the funnel here from EDG. The Olaf already locked in, not ideal. Can potentially if you do something cheesy like the Mordekaiser, but Lulu's already locked, so I'd say that goes down the drain. Now they're just trying to target ban Goong, get rid of some champions that control lanes super well, just to enable them to have either a prolonged laning phase or prevent the roams from their opponents to have a better bottom lane, which is always EDG's goal.
Now, a sensible ban right here. The Tahm Kench, along with the Alistar, actually aimed towards Mako. You were just talking about the fact that Ashe is often paired with the Tahm Kench, and even more often in the same rotation. Not what EDG did right here. Even opted to choose the Lulu, so that option will be taken away from them now, and EDG will have to look towards an alternative. Rise was actually the final ban out from EDG again. Hit towards Goong.
And interesting that we saw a cannon hover here as well from iBoy. For Ray, of course, looking towards that top lane. Mundo being locked in the end. Cannon has been seen into Mundo, but they know in this case that your opponent is a Darius. Very risky to pick Cannon into Darius when he can just pull you back in that lightning rush. Your only escape tool is no longer be available to you. So I like that they go towards the Mundo. Much more traditional style of composition from EDG so far.
Definitely the case. TOP looking towards their Trundle now. You have to expect that one will go into the jungle, but again, who even knows anymore? Everything is turning itself into a flex pick. The fact that even Talia nowadays can go into the jungle, so...
With the Shen locked in, I think that would cement the fact that we're in a wacky and wild game from TOP. Morgana has often become a staple bottom laner as well, so you may even find that it just becomes the Morgana Blitzcrank or Morgana support that gets locked in last as the lane.
All right, we'll dissect this one in a second as we look back towards EDG, because the final pickup there was that Shen. Now Shen can go into the bottom lane, to the top lane. Talia can go jungle, bottom lane, mid lane.
This would be nice from EDG. They can still go Fiddlesticks, but that's very risky against the opposing team. Morgana's Black Shield already removes a lot of that lane strength, as well as the fear capabilities at level 6. Especially down in that 2v2, it's where you'd expect it to go. So instead, Mako says, we're just going to go for the hard engage Rakan style. The way that you can go in and go out if things don't go correctly is a nice little way to, test your feet here, Mako, on the support role.
And it's also nice to see Mako back on a bit of a playmaker. Alistair was taken away right there. We used to see him a bunch on something like a Thresh, making those big Mako plays. So it's put him back on a Rakan, something that has a bit more punch in there, alongside with an Ashe who can look for her own initiates. EDG are definitely looking to start and kickstart these fights come mid-game.
A lot of the importance does rest on the engage that you mentioned as well. iBoy and Mako in that bottom lane. If they get rolling, then the engage is super dangerous because it can be followed up with the damage of each respective member down there. But if they fall behind, all they're good for is engage. And so they have to have reliance here on Clear Love, starting strong in the jungle, starting EDG's laning phase strong, and getting to that mid-game point where they want to find themselves.
Now, I was a little bit shocked that EDG picked up the AD carry so early, because I actually want to wait just a little bit to talk about EDG and how they've adapted so far to the current meta. And they're actually somewhat similar to RNG in a sense, where we've seen a lot of AD carries coming out of them, and they're really trying to actually just kind of slow down from what we've seen before from EDG.
Yeah, in certain respects, they are absolutely trying to slow down, but I think the one concern for EDG is that their style hasn't really changed. Like, they can try and slow down, but their way of opening the map is still a very similar thing. And this is a very good example of it in this game. Having the Ashe in the bottom lane, having Ashe Rakan for lane push, lane priority, kill threat for ganking avenue for jungler as well, of Olaf to come down there, very high kill threat down there early. That's EDG in a nutshell, right? Yeah. They'll just get that lane open. And if you open up Mako and Clear Love to work together, they get their vision set up. And with that, they make the bigger plays as a team.
I mean, really, it's about getting out of that laning phase, getting towards the mid-game where you really want to be. But we'll touch on more of that in the laning phase itself. Now, back over to TOP. So now we actually know where all the picks are going, with the Darius in the top lane, Trundle in the jungle, with the Talia in the mid lane, Morgana in AD carry position, the bot lane position, alongside the Shen.
A couple of flexes from TOP. Yes. It's always good to watch them play through that draft phase. The Talia goes from jungle back towards the mid lane. Gung is a very, very good Talia player, someone that we saw in the spring split doing a lot of work for himself. So looking forward to seeing if that has continued over well into the summer split, especially against someone like Scout. It's one thing to play Talia. It's another thing to play against a very oppressive lane opponent when you are that Talia. You have to hit all those spells, and it's a bit harder to do now when it's all single target.
It is, and that scary man on your screen, Darius, who go into the top lane, who'll be facing down the Mundo. Of course, that matchup really is very reliant on how the junglers interact. I mean, on paper, Darius has a great time early against any tank, especially without a clear gap closer or way to escape from him. But more often than not, we just see them put on top lane island, and Mundo just gets the free farm.
And with that top lane island, though, Darius will tend to have, in a similar matchup, when you saw the Poppies in top lane in Worlds 2016, for some reason that was what came to mind. I don't know why.
The Juggernaut patch.
You get yourself with like a 20 to 30 CS difference. And for Darius to still have that difference, it's quite sizable. And Darius is one of those champions that does very well with levels. So really, it's a very good thing to just have a farm fest for both top lane champions. And it's just about how they're able to, utilize those when it comes to team fights. And for me, I like EDG's composition specifically for the team fighting. I think for TOP, it's a bit more individual play-based. The Shen flash taunts can go forwards, the Morgana bindings can definitely start off fights. Talia walls can force funnels where fights will break out. Things like that can happen. absolutely. Where I would say that EDG is more clear-cut, and that you're just going to watch a Rakana and Ashe throw their ultimates, and that's a fight starting. So that's the biggest difference here between these teams to me. And I think that's where TOP are good enough individual players to make that work. Yeah. But against a team that is slated to beat them, maybe it doesn't.
I've got 2 points, Rusty. First is we have an update of what's happening on stage, because you're probably wondering why we're not in game yet. Well, we just had a bug going into the Champions Select, so we're just restarting a PC, and we're all just going to be piling back into that lobby. Same picks and bans, no problems, nothing has started. And we're just going to try and get back into game. So, simple restart. I know I had one of these the other day, Rusty, and it literally was just a 30-second thing. So, should be going back into game very shortly. Now, the second thing was to follow up on your point. I think that if TOP are going to try and win this series or try and win a game, it has to be based off individual plays. Like, you can't play quote-unquote like standard against a team who is on paper just straight up better than you. So if you can make plays, if you can somehow manage to make your way into the early game, then there is a chance of... I'm sorry, right now there is a light... yeah, okay, I'm going to full rotate. Both of us have a light in our eyes, and it's flashing.
We get
this is no better, Rusty. Now we can just see the shadow.
All right. Anyway, yes, I will bring it back to your point. I agree.
What do I do? I'm going to close my eyes.
It's rough. The early game, I have spots in my eyes. The early game is a big point of priority for TOP against EDG. Ultimately, when you get through the early game against an opponent like EDG, you want to get through it ahead, or at least with a place that has a semblance of control. And, you know, as you play against them structurally, it means you want to have winning lanes through the draft phase. So ultimately, the bottom lane is never a place that you could say we have a winning lane in, because EDG is a 5-man play towards that lane. So regardless of draft, I would actually say that, as always against EDG, you can win top lane or you can win jungle. I don't think Clearlove's been in very good form lately as well. So there is many opportunities to take down their opponents here. And that's why we don't say it's a clear-cut 2-0.
Yeah.
That's why there's always a threat from TOP to take us to 3, potentially even get the victory for themselves. EDG are an exploitable team, and that is mainly through the early game.
Rewind just a couple sentences there, Rusty. Did you say that TOP could potentially 2-1 this series? Because you said potentially take the game. Do you mean series?
Sorry, yeah,
or a
the
game?
whole series.
The whole series? Now, I was walking to the castle desk with you, Rusty, and you were like, no way. EDG, gonna be the 2-0, maybe 2-1 at most. And now, on air, you're flip-flopping. You're doing a razzle-dazzle. And you're saying, hey, it's a potential 2-1 to TOP.
Now, listen here. We were arguing about which AD carry of WE was better.
Yeah.
We never
yell?
discussed this.
What did I say, Rusty?
As a conversation on the way to the desk. But thank you for that.
That's all good.
I did
I've got to put the birthday boy in his place.
You know what? I have notes here that I'll say to you, okay? This is what I wrote. Predictions would be EDG 2-0. Yeah. I think it's EDG 2-1, but top may surprise.
Okay.
That was what I said.
All right. I'm just saying, I'm just regurgitating what you said to me.
None of that says that they can't win.
All right.
That's just my prediction.
I'm just saying, as the person who predicted the TOP upset against FPX, the only person on the team, by the way, to toot my own horn, 2017 World Picking Champion, by the way.
You've been a random selecting 8-ball, I might add.
I think you'll find, Rusty, I'm still in the lead.
Yes, you are.
Yep.
I regret picking the favorites. Ever.
Anyways, so there is still definitely a chance for TOP to surprise here today, and at the very least take a game. But the point is what I'm trying to get at, is that EDG can't afford to let that happen. This is a Rift Rivals team that we're going to be sending in a week or two internationally, and they are playing Rogue Warriors later in the week.
We really need the lighting to
really
change.
needs to... Yeah, this is actually just damaging my eyes straight up. At the very least, I need to try and find like a bandana or something to... Wait, can we just stand up and hide behind the screen behind us?
I already am.
No, you're not. You're just,
the camera.
You're slightly to... Is that actually helping?
I've got to lean on.
Hold on. I'm going to stand up real quick.
We're moving. Sorry, guys. This is a legitimate concern.
It's a legitimate problem. Because, like, I don't know if accidentally you've looked at the sun once and you're like, ah, damn, I've got like a sunspot.
That's in our eyes.
Yeah, but that's just like permanent. Oh, it stopped. We're getting into game. All right, sorry about it, folks.
All right, you can see the champions on your screen.
I'm partially blinded, so if I miss something in the team fight, you know what happened. We can see the team comps once again, and we were just talking about them a couple seconds ago. We've got that Mundo back in the top lane, facing down a Darius, and very much just an engaged comp coming at you from EDG, trying to get towards that mid game. Well, we're about to get onto the Rift, and hopefully the audience aren't blinded as well, because I'm going to need them to bring us onto the Rift with a bit of hype. Well, even if your eyes don't work, still your vocal cords do. So good job, guys. That was a good one to get us into our first game and first series of the day.
Always trust the EDG fans will come out en masse when their team is playing. Clear Love's on the Rift as well, so every reason and more to come out to the Super Brand Mall in Shanghai and support. It's not EDG's home arena, but it may as well be with the amount of fans they've got here.
I mean, the thing is, Rusty, with the more and more teams that are leaving the main venue, like, for example, moving to Xi'an, you've got WE, and of course now RNG moving to Beijing. It means that more and more it becomes like the IGs and the EDGs, and Shanghai kind of becomes their arena. So everyone will just funnel in and constantly just be there to support, and it really is a big turnout today. I know that the EDG fans are pretty much flowing into the side of TOP, so good stuff. But as we get onto the Rift itself, TOP moving into the enemy jungle right now, moving on to that blue buff. Now, I'm not sure
he's holding a freeze here.
Yeah, if EDG have noticed, but the fact that no one's come to lane, iBoy has a bit of a heads up. So TOP will get a bit of tempo here. However, Kalidov with the instant adaptation goes to Raptors, now looking towards the enemy jungle.
It's been a super interesting start here. Of course, it seems EDG wanted to start a freeze in the bottom lane at level 1, or rather a push, so they can build it up into a stacked wave coming towards them. It's something that against, you know, like a level 2 gank from a jungler, it'll be harder to get that gank off if your lane in bottom is already pushing. So it kind of limits options for opposing junglers. And Trundle is renowned for level 2 ganks. He is so good at it by just putting a pillar down. If the other lane you're ganking, or the place you're going, has a form of crowd control themselves to threaten you. So I like this from EDG, and Clear Love's adaptation specifically is he'll be able to get the blue buff from his opponent, get the wolves from his opponent, and now I think the only part that he wants to be careful about is this Gromp. Because XX is tracking him down.
I mean, it's the fact that XX walks into his top jungle. Where's my Merc Wolves? Where's my blue buff? Oh, there he is, Clear Love, trying to run away from my jungle right now, but there is no blast cone, and Clear Love even tosses out an undertow on his way out. Is a final screw you. And XX, I don't think he's going to catch him, but he may want to try and duel him with double buffs because he's got the red.
Yeah, and look at the Smite War here as well. Both of them on cooldown for the same amount of time, so no one wants to hit the Scuttle Crab, but XX absolutely wants to take the one-on-one. EDG are just going to say numbers intervention. They're going to play the number game and try and push him out.
I mean, this is it. Ray and Scout, the first ones to the scene. They get control of the crab, but the line's coming down as well. And it's given TOP time for them actually to regroup here, Rusty. And I mean, this is just a better 3-3 at the level 2 and level 3 mark. So they're just going to say, okay, we concede. That's close enough. And XX will get themselves the crab.
It's almost by sheer brute force they tried to get EDG out of the river. And the mainstay there of TOP, the confidence of them saying, well, we can win this skirmish anyway. They hang around, they persevere, and they're able to get control of that Scuttle Crab. So a nice little lead advantage going over to TOP's jungler. And now he's looking towards that top lane. But note that Clear Love, very aware that he'll be on the same side of the map, and this Hawkshot information will also be very valuable.
But the thing is, as bottom lane is just getting absolutely blasted right now, is I love the fact that TOP are utilizing this early strength that they have and actually leveraging it, you know, instead of saying, okay, well, we're strong right now and it means that EDG aren't going to like come up and beat us down in the first 5 to 10 minutes of the game and then we lose. It's no, we're actually going to get advantages now, we're going to instantly make a proactive play, then we're going to challenge Clear Love on his adaptation and continue to put ourselves ahead. So, if TOP have more in the playbook, as we find a double knockup in the bottom lane, iBoy putting more harassment down onto Cat, then we could see a very strong early game out from the TOP lineup.
Mako with some fancy feet there as well, dodging out on the Shen taunt. So the control of the bottom lane 2v2 will still persist to the side of EDG. It's pretty stock standard for EDG, but as you mentioned, through all of the jungle shifts in the playbook of TOP and EDG, I mean, that's just the way that it's going to play out in the 2v2 now. You've unlocked it, you've left them to their own devices, Ashe and Rakan, so naturally they have that control. And the thing is for TOP, whilst they were taking those early moments, those opportunities to push forwards, it doesn't result in any kind of advantage. There's no amount of control that they get from that, not even a gold value realistically to speak towards besides the single Scuttle Crab. Olaf farms very fast through his first clear, so everything will just equalize. And that's still a good thing for TOP, being equal there, as top lane will continue to get ahead from just continued laning.
I mean, that's it really, because a lot of this happened around top side. So Ray was also the first one to react, meaning Lions managed to get a bounce, I believe, in the first push, then rotate. So he's actually ahead just because of that interaction in the top side. So it has actually culminated into something in the top side of the map, though in the bottom side, it's starting to really hurt Chocho and Cat, because, I mean, this is not a great matchup for them. They're constantly beating down. We need to see at some point if XX can influence the lane somewhat.
I know that looked very meaningless there from Clear Love, just showing up in the top lane and looking at Lies, then going back to recall. But at the same time, he delays the recall, makes him walk away and buys some time. That is time that Mundo gets. that Lies will not be teleporting to lane. It also means that Lies doesn't want to teleport to lane because there's no point now when you're going to be pushed that far ahead anyway.
Yep.
So it's a full reset in top lane and a lot of time for Ray to catch up.
That's really nice for Ray, actually, because a new wave was just crashing, so it was perfect timing actually coming in from Clearlove. Now the wave's coming back in now for Ray. So yeah, look at the difference that's just been opened up. Maybe when this wave resolves, that Darius will still be another 2 waves ahead, but it's way better than 3 or even 4 waves is what it was looking at before.
And more importantly, it's a better recall timing, right? Like ultimately when you're an AD carry, you want the BF sword, you don't want the pickaxe, that feels horrible. Same thing with top lane. Mundo can actually go towards an item now with 40 CS, opposed to the 22 where he was under turret.
And those armor items are very important for Mundo in this matchup because Darius will naturally bully the Mundo when he's only just a health buff, but once you actually get some of those armor items, it delays a lot of his damage coming out from the bleed and just initial burst, and more importantly, doesn't put you in kill range of the execute that Darius has. So getting these early items, getting an extra bit of health as well to avoid that execute coming in at level 6, which Lice has just managed to get for himself as he dings 6. Yep. Very important. So this Balmy Cinder and the old cloth armor going to be great for Mundo.
So things that we didn't speak towards that we saw on our screen just a little bit ago was Gung having a look at bottom lane, potentially with the ultimate. Didn't get it off successfully, but had a look in. That's something that will continue. Every time Taliyah gets control and should be able to push this lane dematerializer, also meaning a great deal, as you can see, he should be able to leave lane, whether it's blue buff, whether it's the opposing side of the map or a gank. He'll get them off constantly. Now, Scout on the opposite side has recognized that. He's rushed Boots of Sorcery. So tier 2 Boots as fast as he possibly can means that he'll be walking as fast as he possibly can and be able to potentially match the pace of that of Gung. And he has Ignite in lane. So the kill lane pressure is a little bit in favor of Scout now.
This goes back to what we were talking about pre-game though, Rusty. We were talking about EDG and how they're definitely slower in the first 20 minutes of the game. They haven't changed too much in terms of their playstyle. However, they still look towards that mid-game. That was a nice little pull there from Lies. And still trying to find those skirmishes and also try to play around these objectives. Now, fortunately, the first giant of the game is Cloud, but the objective itself doesn't change.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, for EDG as well, they're iconic for their 8 to 12 minutes, somewhere around there, bringing 5 people to the bottom lane. That's the one thing that hasn't changed, whilst the rest of them has, in fact, got slower, like you mentioned. But that's what we're still looking towards, because the playbook, well and truly there. The opportunity, well and truly still available for them. And for TOP, they've got the Morgana at level 5 now, so the wave can be controlled. They've got the Shen getting closer to level 6, which diffuses skirmishes, and perhaps means that EDG want to have that team fight. I think we do just get everyone coming down to the bottom lane. And would you say that was either in laning phase or out of laning phase? And before you answer this question, I have another question, which is, Rusty, define for me what is, define for me what is out of laning phase now. Because I know the meta's all crazy at the moment, so is it when everyone leaves the laning phase? Is it when we find a skirmish? Like, what's mid-game for you? I think out of laning phase is still the same thing as it sounds like, but for me, mid-game is when people start to actually move as a team. You know, that could be defined by a time in the game, could be defined by an item timing, but usually it's the team's conscious decisions to just stop laning and start playing team play. So it's fluid, and that's where EDG will be trying to strike. But for now, we are looking towards XX right here, setting up for this guy. Kick from the engage up from Cat. Mako locked up, jumps back towards his ally, right into the quickness as well, just in case. Look for the former, the increased dive, because Goon was actually rotating for the mid lane with his ultimate. Now Cat, XX are pushing up to the tower right here. Tower aggro latched onto by Chocho, and now got Clearlove eventually reacting to this bot lane play, and Goon still in fog of war. They hold very well considering EDG, being able to stay under that turret okay, just dodge a binding from raw skill alone. Very nicely done. Now Clearlove, he will get spotted by XX. It doesn't mean that Clearlove will find him, however. And we get to completely defuse, but the first move, the first step, was in the bottom lane, was against EDG, and it does force the ultimate out of Mako. And the thing is, it's like every time we say, oh, identify, it's like, okay, TP, I would love if you do this in the next 5 minutes. That's exactly what they do. It's Gung is actually now being chased on, and he's in a lot of trouble. Here comes Scout, finds the knock up as well, and Clearlove is also behind him, flash over the wall. They want to secure this one. Gung, that's a help out from Cat, but he's dead, and now Cat is in struggle street as well. He gets slowed down, but should be able to shadow dash to safety. EDG will find themselves the first kill of the game. And they could have pushed forwards towards Cat, perhaps tried to get the flash out of him if they really wanted to be aggressive. But they choose to slow it down. You see what happens when Sorkshoes Lulu gets an opportunity to find you and has that ignite. The heal was off from Gung very early before the ignite came in, so not reduced healing amount by any means, but still more than enough damage coming out of them to secure themselves that kill. Very free, I might add as well. Yeah.
Really good stuff there from EDG, but it was just the fact that Gung was so far pushed up and must have known that Scout was rotating back from the bottom lane there.
I mean, he was doing the one more wave before I leave approach, and Talia not as good at doing that anymore. The 5 pebbles have to connect on individual targets, so positions fairly aggressively is made to pay for exactly that.
Is indeed. Remember, guys, our match of the week is coming up tomorrow. That will be Invictus Gaming versus Royal Never Give Up. So make sure to tune in for that one. It'll be our final series of the day at 7 PM China time. I'll figure out whatever that is in your time zone, because you'll want to watch both of these two teams, as they will be heading to Rift Rivals in just over a week from now.
We have EDG against WE on Sunday as well. So set 3 on Saturday and Sunday is the place to be in the LPL 4.
It's going to be a little late, I know, for a couple countries.
EDGRW, close enough. I guess. I got it very wrong. I'm sorry.
All good, Rusty. We've got XX and Gung heading towards the top lane. Flash forward into the apprehend. Pillar of Filth as well, for good measure. Now, Ray is starting to get his health back, but the flick is good from Gung. And that's right into the execute down from Blythe, but it's actually XX with the kill credit.
EDG trading in the middle lane. They're looking for the turrets. They're very well timed from them on the response, but it's not going to get them the kill. So TOP start the base race. But I have a feeling that EDG should be able to win. Mako not actually showing himself here. It seems like they want to turn and burn on the Talia.
Talia then using the wall, actually splitting up Kalila from the pack, but here's the tower down already from TOP, delaying them so they can get down. Trying to find Gung in the mid lane though with the quickness, and Mako falling forward. Look at the stutter step, keeping the tower in aggro, and that's a kill over to EDG.
And I feel like EDG maybe could have kept pushing if they wanted towards that mid lane turret. They choose to back away, they choose to help iBoy. Now he's still got the ultimate there. Oh, that was
Chocho! Fast on the trigger finger there, but now he's got 3 members rotating towards the bottom lane. Look, ultimate, but the Ragnarok is good once more. He's low on health, backs away from the soul shackles. Scout dodges the wave once more, turns around with a volley. Chocho being chased down by iBoy, flashes away and escapes from the play.
Honestly, it was brilliant from Chocho, brilliant from Cat and Chocho together to stay alive at all. You saw the play, really cute attempt from iBoy. Throw out the E, make him think that you're just revealing something, and then the arrow laced underneath that. The Black Shield was there, the stopwatch was there. Very brilliant stuff.
And frankly, good stuff from both sides, Rusty, because we saw the Black Shield out from Chocho, but then the instant Ragnarok from Clearlove was just as good to block the binding. iBoy walking up, just spotting Cat, taking out that ward real quick. But yeah, both of these two teams are actually playing at the very least on the top of their game when it comes to the mechanical and individual level.
You'd expect nothing less from these teams, respectively, as well. The mechanics should always be there. Cat was one of those players that's been known in the support role, is starting to rise up as a rookie. Definitely someone still worth noting. And Chocho has proven in this split alone that he's got what it takes to keep up with the best at times. The Tristana is the one that comes to mind amongst all of his other ADs that he plays.
Yeah, Cat definitely one of my favorite players just to watch, because he's just straight up insane. He will just run at you without his team into 4 players and just expect that you respect him. He'll do plays like this, and Chocho's off warding and is just like, I'm just going to 1v2 the bot lane. So Cat always likes to go forwards and think afterwards. Now XX is going to find himself in between a Rock and a Olaf, who's going to keep on throwing axes at him, though that's the last one for now. Mako and iBoy moving in from the bottom lane. Gung responding from the mid. Now Cat moving in from the spot side as well, along with Chocho. We're going to find ourselves a binding. Can he connect onto Mako? Battle dance back to his partner, and he should be able to escape from this one. So EDG with the smash and grab, though in the top lane. Lies starting to put some hurt onto the top lane tower. Ray has to burn the ultimate here to get his health back, and that should be enough to send the Darius packing.
Yeah, forcing the ult's nice out of the top lane, so that's still a win for the Darius in the end, but when you look towards the bottom side of the map, the one thing you don't see currently that was very prevalent from EDG was their vision control. They were in the red side jungle of XX, and they were being very aggressive towards him, because you know what? They could. They had 3 control wards in there. They were real deep looking for their opponents. They find him. They don't get anything. Once again, TOP are diffusing every scenario quite well. Be able to just walk away from it, no problem. But EDG always seem to be one step ahead of them.
Yep. Oh, that iBoy arrow cross map, just in case something opened up around Shelly.
Meow.
But might be EDG just going for this one, because we're getting recalls coming out of TOP, so they just give them the old setup, but they start to back away. They don't know how many TOP members are in that jungle, because there are simply not any deep wars here from EDG, so they just have this lack of information and knowledge. So again, defuse, counterpunch, even if the counterpunch doesn't connect, TOP are still looking for it.
Well, the vision has definitely been cleared, and unfortunately all this looking hasn't resulted in a crazy amount. This turret is getting close to falling, however, Morgana just pushes by default when a wave crashes, but iBoy has a CS advantage. So if the turret stands and remains alive, EDG get the advantage from bottom lane. Mid lane, the exact same thing. 0-2, Gung's having a bad day, and it's not because of his one-on-one, it's because he's getting pressured now from all of EDG. Little things like Mako hiding himself, not getting the first brick because he wants to kill Gung. It shows that they're thinking, or trying to think, a step ahead of their opponents. But TOP have kept up. They're still scaling well.
Again, we're gonna have that early execution as Cat knows he sees two people in the brush. But I think we had the recall, yeah, just Mako staying in there. Cat will back this one up. Execution's calling into the top lane there for Lies, so when he remains in this 1v1 against Ray, it's going to definitely be an annoying time for the old Mundo. Though Shelly goes down, it will be XX finding this one, and again, TOP actually building up tempo. It's in the bank, it's not being used yet, but they have it ready to spend.
And you'd be using it mid lane right now if you were TOP. You want to free up the Talia. There's a chance that you want to free up the bottom lane, but I would say, you know, the way Morgana has been pushing naturally anyway, that this turret is a stone's throw from falling and will continue to fall down slowly. So you look at mid lane, you look at the Lulu that's just been hard clearing. So summon the Herald there, group up as 5 there. This is your first opportunity to utilize the Darius, and he's got an Executioner's calling for the Mundo, so they could try and force something here if they wanted.
EDG are trying it. XX walks forwards, moves back towards his Krugs and sees everyone getting towards him. Arrow flashed away from. Important out there from the Trundle, though he loses a couple farm in the jungle. Though he's going to be happy he saved his life off of that one. EDG looking towards his bottom lane, chipping away at the turret. Minion wave about to disintegrate, so Cat will get in there in range just to clear this one out along with Chocho. And EDG, again, so far, it has been diffused, but they are looking to double down potentially.
Yeah, Darius is mid lane right now. He's got teleport, but so does Mundo for the top side of EDG. It's a 4v3 group up in the bottom lane, and Gunga's, of course, just reinforced his team. So you can see EDG trying to remain one step ahead of their opponents, but can they with the constant pressure?
That's the big question, Rusty, the $1,000,000 question. And for now, EDG are looking for plays. That was the trademark 4 people run bot lane. Nothing really happened for it. Now Lies is caught off. Flash forwards. Mako sees the opportunity. Knocks him up on the wall. Here comes Gung, ready to assist. Flash away from Lies. Here comes Cat as well with the block. Saves his ally. Flash of Wolf and Scout. Finishes him off. Lies is down. Cat separates it from the pack, and TOP look to disengage. They leave their pen to die. 2 kills over to Scout.
Scout putting in a lot of work there for EDG. It still continues. Clearlove.
Flick of the wrist onto Clearlove. See you later. And Gung will find a return kill.
Clearlove just stays too long at the Raptor camp. Didn't have the team to support him, so he makes it a trade. Mako
finding another kill. Chocho chimes in with his own. A 2 for 2. Scout getting caught out by the flick, and EDG, they are misstepping left and right, Rusty.
And there comes the Herald. So TOP, they get the kills that shouldn't have existed on EDG, and now they get an opportunity. We talked about the counterpunch. Well, now this is the counterpunch +1 if they can get this charging on the turret.
Shelly's opened up her eyes. She can see. And she's being hit by iBoy currently, getting chunked away. That's really nice from the AD carry, but needs to not get caught. But he's got the happy feet. Left, right, dodging forward. Tara about to die, but it's close. Had iBoy not done that, it would have been a dead mid.
Things are very dangerous now for the side of EDG when you look at the standing gold that is so close to going down. We get to watch this fight against Scout. Plays this very well with Mako. So in unison, the team goes forwards, they make the plays, and then they disengage. They don't let Lies get health back. And you can see Scout flashes, ignites, secures the kill, dodges the taunt as well from Cat, and just picks up a second. That's great. Like, this is great from EDG. Push forwards. Now there's no chance the Herald's going to get used in the next 30 seconds to a minute. Clearlove just dies, clearing out the Raptor camp. Thought he could take it. Absolutely could not, and opened up his sweeper very late. Then Mako's like, I've got this. In the same bush. He goes to sweep the same bush.
I've got the opposite of this. Ooh, drag over the wall, apprehend onto Mako. He's going to jump back towards his ally, though. But you see, TOP are the type of team where it's just like, I know a lot of other top teams would be like, okay, we've lost this trade, we concede, we'll back away. EDG, you take your rewards, your spoils of war. But TOP are like, no, we're going to keep going until the last man standing, and we're going to find some kills. XX, he was on the Dragon by himself, a split up from the team. Here comes the TP, Arrow goes wide. Nice Shadow Dash coming in from Cat once more, and Clearlove gets chunked as he looks to aggress forwards.
iBoy really is going for these long-range arrows. Doesn't want any close-up business.
Oh, he's looking for the highlight reel.
Yeah, he's getting those highlight reels. Thinks he's Shuan P, but he's not. He's missing them. EDG now looking towards the Drake as well. They chunked out XX. They got his ultimate, so he's susceptible to death.
Cat, big chunk onto him. Clearlove should be able to get this Cloud Dragon, and TOP, They're crazy, but they're not that crazy. They're not going to risk their lives over a Cloud Dragon 4 now. We're 20 minutes in, and we've got a load of low health bars as well, and probably a bunch of gold to spend. So TOP are going to do so, and EDG are going to get a bit of tempo on the map, push in the mid lane, move towards the jungle, place down a couple wards, and Khalil's going to go back to base and find himself a few items as well.
And this is where EDG want to be. And now, it may not be in the ideal way for them, but this is where they want to be. Their bottom lane is completely unlocked. They now move towards the mid lane. Scout may not be a teleporter, maybe a Lulu with Ignite. They didn't get their opponent out of turret, but they are unlocked. So regardless, this is that point in the game where they start to move, start to make the plays, and they look very aggressive with their engages.
Duody and Mako hovering off to the side, just being the constant annoying recon, saying at any time I can engage with the swiftness dance combo, though I don't have flash right now. We'll jump back towards his own jungle, and the push continues in the top side. Now we're 1, 2, 3 in terms of towers. So EDG, if they do want to step up the next couple minutes, as you're talking about, Rusty, I do want to see more towers and more tangible objectives come from them that aren't just a Cloud Dragon.
Yeah, you can see it right now actually going towards the bottom side, a fair indicator of at least the Baron side of the map being their point of focus. He doesn't have teleport for quite a while, where Lies does, however. So the opportunity to make a play is actually on the TOP side. If they really wanted to. Their composition's a pick-style comp. The Morgana binding is going to be the #1 way to start something off for them. Or a Talia flick if you're able to hit that one. But if one connects, the combo, the follow-up, is massive, and they will pick off that single target. I think that's the way that they want to play these out first and foremost.
Find themselves a pick, keep moving forwards. Who are the key players then from EDG? If you've got a pick comp from one side, TOP are going to follow up with the Darius afterwards, then who are we looking towards? iBoy for the initiate?
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's just iBoy in general.
iBoy.
Not even for the initiation. You've got a Lulu that's got 3 kills, and the Ardent Sensor was the second item, so he'll do damage with that Ludens. It starts to scale off as he goes supportive. iBoy's always the person you have to look at. He started Cleanse for this reason. Doesn't have the heal, has Scout instead. That's all about him.
It is. Double support, tank line in the front, double items right now, 240 farm. So iBoy, the funnel has absolutely not only started, but is midway. Gung is hovering around mid, just sitting next to a wall for that extra movement speed. Now Cat is on the bottom side of mid, looking towards these 3 EDG members. But there is no one else supporting just now from TOP to look for a potential engage. There are many Ludens across the board, so in terms of burst damage, I reckon someone's going to get popped at the start of the fight. Someone from TOP or EDG, honestly. As we now look at the lane assignments, and Lice has found himself on the bottom side of the map against Ray here as EDG are setting up in the bottom side of mid lane.
Need to be careful, TOP. Of course, Cat's clearing a ward, separated himself from the spell shield, so very confident stuff coming out of him to be able to present himself so aggressively. And speaking of,
Lice is in the jungle, but he has Shen on top of him, ready to turn this one around. Ragnarok is ticking, but here's Mako in the rotation. He'll flash over the wall back to iBoy, so it's a flash from them, and TOP will be happy with that. Ray has the inner track towards the bottom lane tower, however.
And it feels like EDG are not all on the same page. Aggressive teleport from Chocho as well towards the Baron site, so no chance of defending bottom if EDG grouped, that is. That's what you would expect.
Ray gets dragged in, but he's quite happy to continue trading. He has Scout coming down. There's the knock-up. XX very tanking himself, though. It's going to be a war of attrition as slowly this Trundle is being burnt down. Underneath this tower, Ray stepping side to side, burning him out with the Burning Agony. Now Lies with a flash away, finds the heal, but the Ignite comes down. Flash out, and here comes Cleo for the finish shot. And once again, the heal from Lies turns it around with the ultimate, but he'll go down. EDG with 2.
Mako looking very good. They're working with Clear Love in tandem, so they get the kills. The teleport from Chocho, the Morgana not being available, and EDG just make the obvious play, but they do it well. And it's not just one turret in the bottom lane now. It's pressure at the very least on 2.
And EDG will double down on this play. Ray will stick in the bottom lane. He's back to full health because he's a Mundo. And now he'll take this second inner turret right here. Evening is up to 3-3. Hey, what did we just say 2 minutes ago, Rusty? It'd be nice if we found themselves some more turrets in the next couple of minutes. Would have done exactly that and swung themselves 3,000 gold in the lead.
Very good position now for EDG to actually continue to snowball this game out. Their mid lane, a 5-0-1. Scout does this, but he's on a Lulu this time around, so it's not going to be the hard carry, and it's not going to be I'm caught out of position Scout either, hopefully, because it's all about iBoy, and his role should be very simple in that respect. Baron is the place that you look at now. It's a Blade of the Wrong King Ashe. They should take it down very fast.
Absolutely. Here we go. The fastest Olaf alive in the Freljord, going towards the top tower. There's no one to defend, so this is going to go over to whom? Oh, iBoy in the middle lane, bumped away from by XX. That could have been a golden opportunity to burn the Ashe's flash for the next team fight, but not going to be the case.
Very close, however. I like the idea from TOP with the composition, as we alluded towards before. They love themselves some pick. They've got their item spikes to make those fights, and now's a pretty good time. With a 4k gold difference, doesn't matter too much if every team has pretty much the same items. The only one that is absurdly powerful is Scout. And that means the name of the game would ideally just be kill him first. Make him use spells on himself, and he's not using it on an iBoy.
And then turn on iBoy and kill him. Yeah, that would be preferable. Just hopefully Mako's already gone in and used all his CC abilities. But that's what we're gearing up for. We haven't really seen the pot boil over just yet. We are still getting to that point. And every time I see groups of people move together and potentially crash, as again, the reactions are just a little too good from both sides. Every time they see a skill shot out of Fog of War, instant dash away, instant flash away.
Playing with fire, though. Someone's going to get burned sooner or later. His bottom laners. I have a feeling that Ray's pretty comfortable from now on. He's having a pretty grand old time, even against an Executioner's calling.
Ooh, arrow coming across, but Cat, you never know which way he's going. Is he going to challenge a dodge and run in a straight line? Is he going to actually dodge? You don't know, because Cat doesn't even know.
You can't read the mind of a man who doesn't know what he's going to do next.
Yeah, never aim for Cat. Aim for someone else.
It's a 50-50 either way. iBoy just misses that one. Watch the Trundle Pillar as well. That's the big enabling tool for the binding and for the Talia flick that we spoke about earlier. XX in a position to set his team up to succeed. But they seem a little bit cautious right now. Like just pot shots only, no setup.
Yep.
No real forces.
And what does it say that EDG are being cautious right now against a TOP? You know, like TOP historically being one of the weaker teams in the league, sitting down at 13th, 14th place, and now on the upward swing and actually challenging EDG constantly throughout this game, in the early game, even at minute 1, moving into the enemy jungle, and EDG are having to respect what TOP are bringing to the table.
I think it just speaks nicely towards TOP. They have hit this Baron right now.
They absolutely have, Rusty.
There's no vision from EDG, and teleports are coming in. It's going to be at half health, and they'll get here in time, though.
Yeah. The Spidey senses are definitely tingling. Scout over the wall, and the rest of TOP are going to back away. Where's the potential initiate? Ray's coming in from behind. The knock-up onto Cat is good. He'll try to dash back to the team, finds the double taunt onto the front line. It's a scrum on the front, but the first kill goes down. Lies gets the reset. There's the follow-through, and EDG are starting to rout the enemy. Flash reform XX. He's trying to alleviate pressure from the rest of the team, but EDG are relentless. They're going to follow after Cat and Goon. They found both of them, and they'll get the 2-for-1 special. No flick on this round, and that will be 4 kills over to EDG.
And you got a haircut, I think, as well, Pulse. EDG straight over to the Baron buff you would expect after the picks happen. There's only one member alive. It is the Trundle, but he doesn't have a flash, so it's just going to be about Ray tanking this one up, and it should be a secure pretty much for free here. EDG, team fighting Baron.
EDG, that was a 1-for-4. Mako just sacrificing his life for the greater good of the org. And this will be a big swing here from EDG. Not only were they already ahead, but that's 4 kills in the bank, plus a Baron buff to boot, and all of this gold to spend. Multiple of those kills didn't go on the Ashe, but the team itself in a very good position.
And once this binding misses, EDG are in. There's actually no way for TOP to follow up with something afterwards, and I think, you know, looking back on it, you want to wait for the pillar. You want to wait for something else to perhaps help set up the binding. EDG very aware of there's one thing that we need to dodge. So they dodge that, they push forwards, they get the kills. Chocho tried his best with the Morgana there. Gets the flash ultimate into all of them, but there was no damage to follow him up, so he was just crowd control and does go down with a nice little dodge at the end there from iBoy on the Goon.
Now, very nice stuff. Just fancy footwork is what we've seen, honestly, from iBoy all game long. But the other thing is, TOP were, first off, on the retreat, and secondly, didn't find their initial pick, which is what they generally found in the team fights prior. It was just, as I called it in the team fight, scrum on the front lines, and Chocho was like, perfect, I'm going to flash you with Shoal Shackles, and everyone looked at him and was like, okay, I guess we'll just kill everyone else, and then we'll kill you when you come out of Sonya's. So it didn't go to plan here from TOP. That 5v5, not what they're looking for, especially TOP getting caught on the sidelines as well. Ashe Arrow was big, and he just doesn't get to move. Absolute lockdown, and 6 feet under.
It's too easy now when EDG have a lead this substantial. They push forwards. They don't have a minion wave yet, however. Talia's going to be able to move them out. It's 1 minion, it's all they need.
I mean, you're trying to block us out. How about we just kick down the front door and we go forwards into the house? Lies being pushed back, but he's trying to retreat right now and put the dash into EDG. He comes out the drag once more, but he's by himself. No Darius time for you. You're going to be biting the dust. And Chocho getting chased out by Ray, who does not care for turrets.
I don't think there's anything actually dealing damage to Ray. Too strong. EDG get another team fight. They've got the Baron, and it looks like they'll be able to get this first game by just pushing it down mid.
The machine is unstoppable. It will roll down the mid lane, take down both Nexus turrets, and say, Goom, you're coming with us, buddy, to the graveyard. And we're on to the Nexus. Game 1 will go to EDG.
A very clean showing from them. slow, methodical League of Legends. A couple of mistakes here and there, but that's just good plays from their opponents as well. EDG starting the series 1-0 up. Not quite what we were after from TOP regarding their performances, but this is a win that barely needed iBoy. This was just Scout having a very good game.
It was. I've been liking what I've seen from Scout recently. To be honest, Scout has been a type of player who, for a while, was just like, I can't tell if he's going to be good or bad on the day. He was really good on Talia until teams realized that, wait, we'll just ban Talia. And then it was just like, oh, well, what else has he got left in the tank? Scout, the split has been great. He's been picked up multiple new picks. We saw this game on the Lulu. He was the support, but became the star of the show. We saw Lissandra from him the other day as well. That was fantastic. I mean, Scout, great stuff.
The one thing that we were missing from Scout through the history of EDG has been consistency. You know, one day is 7-0, the next game is 0-7. And those things just tended to happen for EDG. And I think a lot of that was that their playstyle revolves so much around the bottom lane.
Oh, yeah.
And this is one of those few changes where it's not purely an adaptation to the meta by any means. I think it's just EDG adapting to the team style that little bit more. You know, Scout was the one getting the kills early. He was the one making the early plays. And then Clearlove and Mako as a duo actually just walked in and pressured the opposing jungler and opposing team. They didn't get anything from it, but they just pressured them. Maybe an ultimate was the trade-off. And that means Scout comes in and actually reaps the rewards.
I mean, I liked what I saw from TOP, though. You know, we saw a lot of aggression in the early game. They had some set plays, but they simply just ran out of steam. Anyway, that's going to do it from us. We're going to send it back over to the analyst desk to take a look at Game 1.
Thank you, Pulse. Thank you, Pulse. And it's a Game 1 victory going over to EDG there. And it was very different drafts coming out from these two teams. We saw from EDG, they were to pick up the composition that protects iBoy, whereas from their opponents, it looked quite sketchy. Morgana as well as Shen being thrown to the bottom lane. That's not Snake, that's not Gold Funnel team composition, but it seemed like it neutralized that bottom lane quite well, and TOP had opportunities to attack the early game.
Yeah, so that was the biggest one, where they found themselves going into the late game, if you're TOP, mid-game that is, just because the protection of the early game was just down-packed. I know before we even got into the game, we had a discussion that EDG's Spring Split style wasn't very compatible with the Summer Split because you can't just dominate lane anymore. You can't just get outright advantages, 9-minute towers that we used to see from out of EDG in the Spring Split. So coming into the first clip, what we saw in this time around, Morgana, Shen, super passive. Teleport, we made a mention of that one as well, because when we see Ashe finally getting the opportunity to send the arrow down, immediately Chocho, great respect there, knew that it was going to fly through. Boom! No impact. But he's so far down the lane that you would think that it's still possible. Scout and Clearlove going to round down. Clearlove, even though he uses his Ragnarok, remember, Ludens is already picked up by Chocho, so he does enough damage as is. Comes out, burning his flash, burning quite a few summoners, but he comes out safe, and that's what matters here.
And we got to see EDG use their composition to pick up quite a few picks. Now, this was one of the later picks that we saw come out from EDG, where they capitalized on Chocho, teleporting to the top side to pick up quite a bit of farm for himself, leaving his team in the bottom lane to be dove by EDG. But this wasn't the first thing that we saw coming out from them, because with TOP's composition, we saw top lane pushing in by Darius, we saw Talia being able to get a push barely against Lulu in the mid lane, and as you were talking about, the neutralized bottom lane. It set up TOP for quite a few opportunities to attack that bottom lane combination, which EDG wanted to leave alone. They just want iBoy to farm, sit there and relax. But every time Gung roamed to look for it, it was disrupted by Clearlove, disrupted by the Lulu in the mid lane, and they actually caught him out twice with that Olaf pick, catching him transitioning between lanes, and got EDG a very small lead to start the game.
So I love seeing the Olaf pick in particular. It seems like Clearlove literally nabbed MLXG's Olaf, because we got to see Black Cleaver Olaf from him, but then of course, when MLXG got picked off quite a few times by MLXG, he's like, all right, I'll pick it up myself. So we usually see the Lulu-Camille combination, but the Olaf-Lulu combination works because you run in quickly, you have the stats to just roll over them. So while you want to see the Talia move out of the lane, she's going to get Ragnarok and demolished every single time she makes that play.
And it seems difficult for Clearlove to run this into a team fight, which we didn't see too much of, because he runs into the back lines. Yes, there's a lot of CC that his Ragnarok is going to ignore, but on top of that, he can do what we just saw in that replay, which is run into a skirmish instead, ignore the crowd control, and look for a couple of picks. But that replay was something you and I definitely wanted to talk about, because although a very nice play coming out from EDG, getting 2 picks against TOP, Clearlove decided that he's going to farm Raptors afterward. Mako walks over towards the brush where Clearlove just died, and immediately, instead of being EDG, the team that's known for setting up after getting an advantage and taking more, they fell and lost 2 kills. Eventually, Rift Herald was thrown to the mid lane and it was an opportunity for TOP to almost counterattack on a play that was against them.
Yeah, and it turned into another kill, as you mentioned. So you get these moments where it is a breakdown in communication, where Clearlove did end up trying to de-ward, should have had the team with him. The team's mindset was they wanted to look towards an inner tower in the mid lane while he was obviously on his own. So these are openings that teams will obviously try to chip at them. And so for EDG, this is a good lesson, and I want to see them going into game 2, cleaning that up even more. This was a clean game, except for those plays. It might even get harder for TOP to attack now.
Because yes, TOP's looked good during summer. They started the split strong, hit the ground running, and they cleaned up a lot of the things that we were, questioning from them during spring split itself. But they're going up against EDG. EDG, this was a chance for them to clean up their play, especially with Rift Rivals coming up next week at tournament. They're going to be representing the LPL at. So hopefully we can see that from throughout the rest of this series. And we talked about how it's all about protecting iBoy, making sure that iBoy is set up for success in that bottom lane. Well, one way to do so is make sure you have an incredibly well-fed Lulu in the mid lane, buffing him up, 7-0-8, dealing a ton of damage as well. It's Scout that picks up MVP.
He was a bit bloodthirsty. In the last free play we saw him flashing in to get the Ignite across. I mean, some of these team fights were a little bit hectic, so when he found the opportunity, he took it.
Definitely did. Set himself up for success, made sure that iBoy was buffed up as well. And that was EDG's win condition. We talked about the early game being neutralized. TOP could have capitalized on it, but when it comes down to the team fight, this is what happens.
This was my favorite team fight because Mundo did something subtle. He threw a Q at the Darius the moment they already went in and picked off the primary carry off of this one. So it was incredible to see Morgana already stricken off the rulebook. She was already gone before Darius even had the opportunity to be set up in that fight.
And that's what TOP's comp is, protect the Darius almost. 2 supports in a bottom lane, mostly damage is going to come out from that top lane pick. And it seemed like something that could have worked well into EDG, but their early game setup just fell apart. EDG were able to dissect TOP's early game strategies quite well.
That's why I liked BSYY's draft from TOP. Okay. I felt like it was safe in the early game. It set them up well in the team fights, but team fight execution is what matters.
But do you want to be safe in the early game against current EDG? Because maybe last split, yes, I want to be safe against EDG. I don't want to fall to their early game pressure. They were, what, 3rd in taking towers very early into the match? Do you really want to do that? Or do you want to attack them early game now and disrupt iBoy from the get-go?
I'm going to say attack. Okay, I'm going to say attack, because that's how TOP took down WE at the very beginning. It was off of Chocho and Cat, so maybe we put Chocho and Cat on active champions. The Tristana, the Leona. I want to see the Leona.
Hopefully we can see more coming out from their bottom lane there. Using Gung to try and disrupt that didn't work out for them, but we're going to go into a quick break. We're back with game number 2 in just a bit.
想要征服他人，必先战胜自己。EDG 的队名就是鞭策我们的动力。